Well, it's a great question to ask. You know, when people lose money in COVID-19, we watched the market down, turn down, and there was, depending where they're at, what they're doing, about a 15%, decline in the market. So the question is, what happens? What do you do? If you're an investor and you get your statements, there will be something on that statement somewhere that says that all gains and losses are unrealized. What does that mean? It means that that's just pretend money until you say, let me take it out. So we always advise people, when the market goes down like that, it's probably better not to open your statements and just keep doing what you're doing. But, well, should I stop giving? No. Keep investing. Keep throwing money in that direction. And people say, yeah, but I'm losing money. As we've talked about in different segments, what you're doing is you're buying stocks at a cheaper price per share because it's down. And if you're in something good and you're diversified enough, you're going to weather that storm. The thing to do is not panic. The worst mistakes that I've dealt with, and you, Dr. Crum, can address this on a longer history than I have, but the worst mistakes are people that build their retirement, you have a market pullback, you have a COVID-19, you have a 9/11, you have some unexpected event that causes the market to make a major downturn, and we say, wait a minute, I had, 600,000, it's down to 375, I've lost money, I'm pulling it out. What you've done is you've locked in those losses. You bought that house at 700,000 and it went to 375 and you panicked and you sold it. That's the worst thing that you can do. I just read an article a couple of days ago that during the COVID-19, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. You know why? Those very habits. They're not, now they have money, they can weather the storm, but you've got to understand that this too shall pass. And so if you can keep a discipline of if you're investing in, keep investing. Keep doing that. As it turns and comes back, you'll recover quicker because you're buying at a lower cost per share than if you were up here at a high market where you feel better, but you're paying more for your stocks.
You make a point I want to make too. When you're starting out in investing, you start out with the more conservative stocks, like in the mutual funds, the slower growth. Because when the market goes down, the blue chips go down slower and come back faster. Because those are the ones that people invest in and they stay with, and they don't come out as quickly. Yeah. So start with the more conservative ones and push back your feelings. As you're saying, the small investor always waits until he feels it's the right time, and you don't feel like buying more stock when it's down, but you are locking in what we call a dollar cost average on that stock. And when it goes up, you take more shares up with you. Yeah. So it rises more quickly that way. One more point I wanted to make, you mentioned briefly a while ago, is calling about your seed corn. Don't eat your seed corn. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about. The farmers used to, the first part of their crop, they would put aside for next year's crop. Yeah. And if they sold that, or as we say, ate that, then they had nothing. So you set aside that amount that you've invested, and that's why you leave it there. That's your seed corn for the next harvest, and otherwise you'll be starting all over.
Yeah, good point. And you said the word blue chip. I want to make sure. Blue chip is a large corporation that's much safer. So they don't have to pay out as much dividend because they're safer. So the riskier a company is, think of it as the opposite when you go to the bank and you say, well, my credit score is not very good. It's only 520. You have to pay a higher interest rate because you're a higher risk. Somebody who has an 850 credit score, they're going to loan money to with less interest. It's the exact opposite when you're in the market. Big corporations, it's the same way. They're not as risky. They don't have to pay as much dividend because they're safer. A new company that's starting up is riskier. You may get better, so they have to pay higher returns, but they're riskier. So what Dr. Crum is saying is you get into the market and you start, you want to be with safer. You want to have a little bit bigger, safer, so that you're not fluctuating so much, and then as you learn and you diversify and you add, you can add a little bit more, which will create an inverse relationship in your portfolio.